All right, let's drink some coffee.
Let's do it. Good morning, guys. Welcome to episode 5, Coffee House. Got to think about it a little bit. We're starting to add up on the numbers. We have to get up to double digits, 10. We've sat around yesterday brainstorming about what we're going to talk about. It's interesting. Whenever you just have free-flowing conversations, just like in person and stuff, things just happen so naturally, and it's a little bit harder when you're planning. We're
trying to make it a little natural though as well. So.
Yeah, and super entertaining as well, which requires some thought.
It smells so good, freshly ground.
Yeah, so I think today what we're going to talk about is kind of like, generally speaking, the struggles of starting a kendama company, and some struggles we've seen that other people have had, and an idea to give you all an idea like how we were able to continue on despite some of the hardships of starting a kendama company, and just some general conversations around that kind of thing. And we're also, this morning, I wanted to share with you guys, we got a really kind of premium special coffee with us, and it is Congo. It is North Kivu. We got a little green label on there. It's very beautiful looking. Share it with both of y'all. And I'm obsessed with the tasting notes today because there's just it's a lot.
It is a lot.
I love the sound of everything, and so I'm gonna go ahead and hit it. This is a very light roast. We're a notch below the lightest possible roast mark here. And the tasting notes that we have is, of course, chocolate, which seems to be ever prevalent.
There's always chocolate.
Chocolate and coffee are just intertwined in ways that man cannot understand. But the other tasting notes are lemon tea, which I just love the sound of that. Basil and grapefruit. So we're gonna get a little bit of fruitiness and stuff like that. And I've got to get another smell.
I think it's gonna be a very vibrant coffee. Something that's very strong. Gotta let all that.
Yeah, I'm digging this, man. Premium coffee. Premium specialty coffee. I can't wait.
I like freshly ground coffee is one of my favorite smells of all time. You cannot beat that.
I remember when we were little, we'd go over to Books A Million, which is like a book store franchise near us. Yeah. Massive. And we'd go there when we were little, and at the time that we had zero appreciation for the coffee world, but you'd go in there and they had coffee always brewing and always being made, and oh man. I can just remember, and that's probably why I like coffee so much, is I can just very boldly remember how the smells of entering the bookstore.
Oh yeah.
It gives me such good feelings. I mean, it's just, how could you be sad when you smell the coffee? You know what I mean?
That's a good point. I think it's very common. People love the smell of coffee. And a lot of people that don't like drinking coffee still love the smell. So
yeah,
I think there's something to that.
There's something there. Another nostalgic memory I have is going to Books A Million to play on the Sunday Yu-Gi-Oh card tournaments. That was a thing for some time. That was really fun.
Yeah, we did that. I don't even know how long we did that.
Beautiful childhood.
Yeah. But that was definitely, it was kind of like with Yu-Gi-Oh, we played at home, you and I knew it. There were shows, we had the cards, but
it was happening.
We didn't know there was a community of people who also played it, right? So just like kendama, if you're playing at home, you're having fun, but until you start to discover oh, there's a weekly thing here, going to competitions. That was the first time we realized, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh is bigger than
the most fun thing for me was that I think if you won you got bet 1, 2 of 3 matches or something, you got a free pack of cards, which was crazy.
That is cool.
I don't know who sponsored that.
Yeah, who was
that's expensive. Cards are. I was like, man, I got to come over and beat people.
Did they sell cards at the bookstore? I feel like they would have. We never bought it.
No, I just won. This is 4th grade, 3rd grade for you, and so we were how old?
We were
12.
And all the people that were there were definitely
16.
Older people.
Yeah, we were facing off on teenagers.
So we were the kids at the competitions, rolling up with the backpacks.
But I had the heart of the cards. Or what does it say in this show? I don't remember.
I have no clue. It's been so
I didn't have this thing.
Who knew we were talking about Yu-Gi-Oh today?
I don't know. You gotta throw it in there. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the struggles, and just thinking back, as far as the hardest things to do, it seemed like we tackled a lot of things earlier, and this is the episode coming after the Designing Kendamas episode, so we kind of hit a lot of that kind of struggle part, figuring out what we wanted, but
yeah, actually, did we cover what we're talking about?
What do you mean?
The struggles of starting a kendama brand?
No, we just talked about designs.
No. I mean, in this video, did we explain?
No,
the
I did
topic?
as an intro already. Yes, I
Okay,
did talk
alright,
about
I
it.
missed that. I was making coffee.
You're good.
All right.
Barista man. Yeah. So, is there anything off the top of your head that you're like, man, that was kind of tough?
So coming in to starting a Kendama brand and just starting out right out the bat, you need something unique to set yourself apart. And for us, that was the Natty
Natties,
Cherry
yep.
and just having a full Natty line.
So what was the
Kendamas.
struggle?
The struggle initially is a lot of times a lot of people just straight up will not give you a chance, or will not even, well, they might look at you and go, oh, there's another brand, whatever, blow you off immediately. So you have to come in with something that is coffee. You have to come in with something that brings value to the community, something that is unique, and something that immediately people are intrigued by. And so if you're coming into something like, for example, if you come in with a beach Rasta Tama, it's just like, it's been done everybody's done it a million times. Like, if somebody comes in, new Kendama company, it's Joe Kendama, and it's a Rasta Tama, it just might as well, like, what are you doing?
You need to be very, if you ever think about starting a Kendama company or whatever, you need to be very, as with all things in life, let's go bigger. You need to be very thoughtful. Just be thoughtful. Just think about it. I mean, you don't just do anything. You want to be careful and smart and creative and like show off what you're about and what you could be about. It's about having a big idea or big ideas. And I mean, for us, you know, we started out with the Natty thing, and you don't have to have everything together. You know, you don't have to have it all figured out. Nobody ever does, but to be more thoughtful than, hey, I'm going to make a Kendama company, Joe Kendama, and I'm going to make Rasta Beaches.
Joe Kendama with Rasta
It's a very low-hanging fruit, and we can do better than that, you know? Look at that beautiful pour. Yeah, close-up camera, get that.
The Congo.
Yeah, baby.
All right.
I need to start getting some more mugs, don't I?
Yeah, we're going to switch up.
The good thing about the chocolate holler mug is it's CH, which is also coffee house.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Mind-blowing. The smell for me, it's so much different. Oh, it's just calling my name. I just like lean up to the cup. Shelton, drink me.
North Kivu.
It's as good as I imagined. I love it. I mean, I have it.
Like, you see lemon tea, basil, and grapefruit. That's
fruity, but very earthy.
Three very, like, lemon
herbs.
is strong, and, like, grapefruit strong. Basil, you know, like,
I haven't tasted enough basil to taste
That's
this,
true. In cooking, I guess, you know, you get that, like...
Talk about the taste. Go ahead. I'll give you another sip. I mean, all I can say is it's good. I like it. I can't tell you exactly why, but dang. I think I do get a little bit of the tea, the lemon tea there. Just it's like a little bit of acidity.
It is.
I just feel like I'm getting a splash.
Acidity, that might be it. Definitely, the lemon tea comes out the most. Grapefruit too, because it's so like it's such a powerful
punch of like sour
taste, I guess. Yeah.
And it's funny, like the other day I went back to a bag of Soul Blend and I gave it a nice sniff, and I could actually smell chocolate for the first time. And I think this is doing good things for me. I was like,
we're getting there.
I was like, oh, a little dark chocolate. And honestly, I have a bad sense of smell. So, like, that was a big step for me. Yeah. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that. But anyway, back to the Dama. I'm going to come back to talk about this because it's just, I'm loving it. But
have your cup of Joe. Don't have your Joe Kendama.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean? So I think there's something to be said about the thought you put in to everything you do before you do it. As far as coming up with a name, Sheldon and I don't think have ever talked publicly about the process of coming up with a name. We had 3.5-hour drives between college and home, because at the time I was a freshman in college, he was a sophomore when we decided to start Soul. And so just going back home on whatever weekend to visit the family, we would come up with names.
Brainstorming session.
I mean, it was the full 3.5 hours was just back and forth.
I would be ashamed.
We'd have time. There's times where we'd just be silent, you know, like trying to think.
I would be ashamed to share some of the other names that we were kind of pitching around. And we're never going to mention them because I would just kill myself if I ever listened to it. But
yeah, I mean, we were trying to get creative.
And that's another thing is be very open. If you're brainstorming with anybody, and I'm actually bad about this, is if you're brainstorming with someone, don't reject ideas immediately. You know, it's kind of like with the same way with the tasting of coffee. You kind of just let it roll around on your tongue a little bit. You know, it's like somebody puts something out there. You just got to go, okay. And then you just move on, keep coming up with ideas. You just come back and taste a little bit and you feel it out. And like, it could be a good idea.
I had a professor in college, and I studied landscape architecture, so it was a degree that had some level of, someone's going to meme that, enlarged kendama on Instagram. I had a professor, landscape architecture is a creative field, and he always said whenever you start on something, like you said, don't reject any ideas. He said, go as far as you want.
Absurd.
He's like, you can always reel it back in, but you know, like you can't like send it back out, right? So like he said, just go with the craziest ideas, throw them down, then narrow them.
And honestly, I will say one thing that I need to start doing, and that I've thought about, is I need to have a practice in the creative thinking department. And how you do that is by, say you're ready to start a kendama company and you're thinking of fresh ideas and stuff like that. Put that on pause. Spend a couple of weeks doing creative thinking, like, okay, if I was to write a book, what would I name it? Or like, if I invented a new vacation type or something like that, you just need to like stretch your mind out and go absurd. Go as far out as you can and then reel it back in, and just do this every single day or like often as you can, and you'll start to like flex those creative muscles and then come back to the kendama company, and maybe it'll be like Jose
Kendama.
Man, you know, you got a little extra flair or something, but just make it Spanish. That's what we did.
Yeah, that's all we did there.
No, for Soul, I mean, do you remember when we were sitting around talking?
So I think Soul came up early on.
It actually did. So that was one of the first few.
Again, like it was
short, sweet.
4.5 years ago. I can't remember who pitched the idea.
I remember the long conversations we had sitting around. I was like, staring out the window over our little like line of your line of kendamas you had there.
So yeah, that was at the apartment, but then like even on the car rides, I remember. I remember those so vividly. The car rides.
The Soul one came up in the apartment.
Soul came up early on. And again, we didn't like write it off or like, great, all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Kept it there. Several other ideas. We started, we were like, what if we take like English words, translate them to Japanese, and then use the like English spelling of that as we just trying to come up with some crazy stuff.
That kind of felt a little cheesy in a way. You know, it's an American coming into a Japanese sport and then, you know, taking their name and like, you know, it just felt weird. It just felt cliche, you know?
Yeah, we went through, like...
a bunch of stuff.
You look at Kendama USA was like a staple.
The branding.
Kendama USA.
The good thing about Kendama USA is the branding is unmistakable. I mean, you see it for the first time, you know exactly what it is. Okay, it's
Japanese toy.
United States Kendama
comes
company.
to America.
Yeah, it's
Kendama
like...
USA.
And so we were thinking in terms of brand, and at the time I had just gotten into marketing as a full-time student, more or less, and so I was thinking pretty hard about it. And for me, Soul, short and sweet, easy to get out, just rolls off the tongue. We wanted to focus on like iconic imagery, which is why our logo on our cans have essentially always just been the small little Soul logo and no text. Never had any text, right?
Not on the logo, not on
never.
The cans,
and then the only times we made the additions, which we talked about the design, was the Pro Mod. So for us, or for me at least, we were talking about a natural look because we were coming with the natties.
Yeah.
So you're talking about not only
Simple,
having a fun,
natural.
good idea, but you're combining into a package deal as a brand. Simple, natural, and it's beautiful. Yeah. The simplicity of the logo, just looks really good. Yeah. And then the Soul... The sun is just warm.
It's natural.
It's fun.
It's like...
Man, you just want to hang outside and play kendama. That's what it felt like. You just want to be with your friends and stuff like that. So it was just like a simple idea, but it all just came together like that. And then the Tomahole in the sun is just...
Yeah, and the logo, the idea... The name came up originally without the logo idea and without the complete branding behind it. And then it all came together when it was like... Name, logo, products.
It's like, okay, we're here.
And so that was really what solidified it for us. Like, we both speak just a very little amount of Spanish from like high school.
Passing Spanish. Yeah. I've been to Mexico one time. It was great.
I've been to Costa Rica.
I would love to go back. That's my biggest, like, the saddest realization of life is it's hard to go back and visit Mexico.
Oh,
I'm too white. It's just like, it just can't happen right now, but... I'd love to go back. It's a beautiful country, and so we were inspired by that and like a bunch of other things. And
continue to be inspired day to day of different things.
so that was the struggle, the first struggle we had.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch
coming
of
up with the name, and we talked a lot about the products.
I think it'd be fun to talk a little bit on the business side of things, just to give you an idea. So obviously you need a little bit of money to start out. Figure it out how you can. Go to garage sales and flip stuff, or like ask grandma for some money. Ask for a raise on your chores. Whatever you can do, just get money together. And
got a good credit score. Go get a loan. If you're feeling confident, go get a loan.
I would avoid it if you can help it, but
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're in dire needs and feel confident and everything else, then consider it. I don't know how
if you're not making Rasta Tamas, I guess.
So I would like to just mention some other companies and that kind of thing, just to give you an idea of how it compares to like what we did versus what they did and that kind of thing. So at the time in Utah, you have to remind me what part. I don't want to say Salt Lake City, but like Balance Kendama, where they were.
I think it was Salt Lake City. I know they ended up there.
Yeah. So what they did early on is they were designing their own kendamas.
It was another brand that started the same time as us for
Yeah.
people who aren't.
Basically, we
familiar.
started essentially within the same couple of months, and it was purely coincidence, you know. And they very quickly moved into a shop. And for me, at the time,
It was cool though. It was really
it was a
cool.
neat little shop. I mean, it reminded me of H&L in a way. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
one of those. And for me at the time, I was thinking, man, that's just gonna just kill them. And you know, because your overhead is so much more. You have to. It was funny when we were early on thinking about the cost of things. It was always measured in the cost of the kendamas we'd have to sell.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
So if your rent, you know, is like $800 a month or something, which isn't unreasonable for a storefront, you know, you might have to sell at $20 each 40 kendamas.
Yeah, 40
And
kendamas a month
kendamas-
just for the physical location.
Just for the rent,
and
without
that's
cost.
not. I mean, you've got to pay the bills. If someone's working, you've got to pay
Electricity,
their salary.
internet, labor, withhold the taxes.
And then you still have to sell more to pay for the kendamas that's sold. Like that just covers the rent.
Kendama
you know?
shipping in, yeah. I mean, and then so for and 40 kendamas. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot. Sometimes it does sound like a lot. But I mean, that's like one and another one every 3 days. You know.
Yeah, but that's just to cover if you have this
Just to
physical
cover
location.
the physical location. And so starting out, if you're thinking about that, avoid the location.
Unless, of course, there is like a thriving community or.
And the reason that
some other
let me give an
aspect.
example of somebody who made that work. It was BLK. BLK was in California.
They had like 3 or 4 locations.
Yeah, and they were in
for a while.
malls and stuff like that, and it was very hot for a minute. They didn't have any sticking power. I think he probably overextended in the retail stuff because it
Yeah.
feels like it's going to last, but like stuff pops up.
BLK is another one that popped up around that same time, and I mean they went heavy all
They killed
in.
it retail, brick and mortar
and
style.
then it just I guess community out in California just died, or Utah as well, and it just wasn't enough to sustain their physical location. And so, in a result of that, the entire brand went
So I'll give
down.
you guys like an insight into like how, and this could almost be its own episode talking about like hotspots and stuff like that. But like this is essentially how the wave of kendama works, or we've seen it work. And this is my POV, I guess. Places have people who play kendama. It starts to pick up steam one way or another because it's really fun and people enjoy it, the competitive nature. But they don't necessarily buy into the culture, which is fine. A lot of sports that are around for a while are, it's like passed down. You know, like, oh, your dad played baseball, you play baseball, your kid will play baseball, and it's a family nostalgic thing. It's tradition. Kendama's too young for that so far, so it could have sticking power in the future. But anyway, Kendama's fresh, so it'll take over an area, say California, Hawaii, Romania, Singapore.
Right now in Latvia, it's
Latvia,
going ham. You
yeah,
see
and-
Cooper Eddy just.
And what
gets
happens is,
swarmed.
as that wave subsides, you still have the people standing who have bought into the culture, and those are the people who stick around. And so, like in my mind, I'm thinking if there was just a wave over the entire Earth, let's just go ahead and hit every single spot in the world, and then it subsides. You know, the community itself is still like quadrupled, tripled, a million times over,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And so
But
that's
it's
kinda,
people who are all in on.
and that's
the
kind of how it
culture and the
happens.
Community.
That's kind of how it happens, right? I mean, it just comes through, and whoever's left standing sticks with it, like Jake Fisher in Florence or Covington or
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean up there, man, it was
Nutty
crazy.
craziness.
Yeah, it is interesting, and so Kendama companies. I guess you could say that Kendama brands and companies come in the same way.
They do.
So I mean, in Romania, I'm sure there were several Kendama brands that started around this huge wave, and maybe they've come, maybe they've come and gone, maybe they're still going. I'm not quite sure, but
Yeah, we actually don't know a whole lot about Romania. I mean, We've been very focused stateside, doing our thing.
I guess it's just easier too for us because we're more familiar with the culture here. It's like trying to pick up on culture that we don't understand.
Societal cues and everything else. Stay in your lane.
I don't know. Yeah,
but that kind of segues into the conversation of when you see these companies start on the back end of the wave, the trend. It's mostly happening out of what seems like a response to the demand. So it's the supply side of Kendama.
Maybe, yeah.
100%.
I didn't think about that.
And so these people are coming in, but at the same time, their mistake is that also not understanding the culture, that they think they could just come in and make some money. And it's like, okay, yeah, we'll make a little bit of money. And that might be true in the short term. You may make a couple $1,000s or something like that with your little thing you got going on. But like, to buy into the culture is a whole separate issue, and if you're starting a company, you have to do it with very good intentions. I think that is the most important part, because people don't want someone to come in and just leech off their community. We've got a lot of people who, and I would say we pride ourselves on being a part of the Kendama community who's very open with the idea of sharing Kendamas. I mean, you got somebody who will just pass it on and say, here you go, I appreciate you showing interest in my thing. Let's share, I'm going to share my Kendama, and maybe you'll fall in love with it like I have, you know what I mean? And so we've got a very honest group of people, and when you have somebody come in who seems to not share that similar value, it's conflicting, and people are not happy with that. So if you're thinking about, starting a Kendama company or whatever, good intentions first.
Yeah.
First of all, it wants to be, really the way I think you should look at it is, I want to share Kendama, and it would be effective for me to have more resources to do that.
Yeah, and that same goes with hosting an event too. Like,
it ties together.
Man, like hosting an event for the people that play in your area, host the event to grow Kendama, and if your intentions with that are pure, end result's gonna be great. Yeah,
and honestly, events are a tricky thing. Like if you've got a Kendama company to back you, kind of like we do, it's easier to stomach spending $4,000 on rent, for a venue or whatever. I mean, that's like not something that just a regular person can easily do.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like
that's why deal. We were in a high school band room before, like.
Yeah, and so having those resources is nice, but that's the forefront is just about having good intentions.
Yeah, and so I guess we could talk a little bit about a company that we saw come into Kendama, Leech, and then just dissolve completely. I don't even know if they have Instagram anymore. Or they probably do. We could check.
I'll check.
Fact check. So this company, if you've been around, you've heard of it, Ronin Kendama.
Cliche Japanese samurai. It's insulting.
And Ronin is actually a samurai that has been shunned from.
How did I not realize that?
Somebody told me.
Quality
I think
branding.
It was like Coda told me that.
That's hilarious.
And yeah, like they didn't do the research clearly on the name, or maybe they understood that they would be an outcast.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's why they did it. But they took the concept that Grain Theory came out with. Grain Theory, I think, started like 5.5, 6 years ago, maybe.
Yep.
6 years probably. But they reintroduced the swoop into Kendama from some really old Kendamas. Like I think the S-Type had that like very curved swoop at the base.
I don't have an S-Type. It's not up there.
I was just
Shelton, where's your antique Kendama? I keep that upstairs.
Yeah, Grain Theory came up with reintroduced that concept in a really new creative way. They did the wormhole in the top of the Serato. Again, like maybe something we saw like 40 or 50 years ago, and they brought it back to life. And it was all American made at the time. Ronin comes in, steals the idea, same concept. They had a wormhole.
It's not even.
They literally put the wormhole. This is like.
Yeah. It's basically copying, the best of GT, and then just slapping your shunned samurai Japanese name on it. I mean, it was a sad state of affairs.
And it wasn't even, like exactly the shape. It was kind of like,
it's like the off-brand. It was like
the great value brand.
Yeah, like
Grain Theory.
not even. It's like what's the off-brand to the Dollar Tree?
I don't even.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like,
that's what it felt like. I couldn't say much at the time because there are a lot of people who kind of like Vibing. It's not a terrible idea.
The thing is, Grain Theory was at expensive. A premium price, but it was made in the USA. The attention to detail was there.
Anyone who didn't want to drop money on it.
Grain Theory is so involved with the community, constantly creating.
And I want to interject right here. So like, when we talk about Kendama pricing, which this is something we didn't talk about in the design.
That could be another conversation in itself
so
as
well. Maybe it'll spawn one, but like. When we first started out, we were very low, not charging enough, and I think like there's something to be said for charging a little bit more, especially if you've got a brand, because a large part of like our budget is spent sharing Kendama. Like, you know, we talk about Battle of the Border, it's a good amount of money, and you talk about MKO, it's a good amount of money, you know, to do these kind of things, and that's just one event. If you're buying a product that is kind of like a nicer product, from a developed brand and stuff like that, you are reinvesting back into the community, first of all. And so even when you're shopping these kind of off-brand guys who are just coming in, you're hurting the community. I mean, you're making it worse for yourself. That's one less person who's going to be playing around you. You know what I mean? It's just like, it doesn't make any sense. And so like, I just want to put that in there, because when you come in and you're spending, say, $30 instead of $25, that's $5 that's going towards the community. That makes a difference. It adds up.
And
I mean,
I don't have an exact number, but like for every 100, we probably give away at least 25.
We do give away a lot
or more. You know, like between jams, sponsoring events, jams, just giving
schools. People start clubs and they want kendamas, and they're like, "Hey, 20 people came to play, and we only had 5 kendamas. Can you send us some?" Yeah, we got some. Why not?
There's kids we just sent maybe like. I think it was like 8 kendamas. They're going to Haiti. They're like, we want to give away some kendamas there. I was like...
And you can't say no to that. Why do you say no? Don't give the kids in Haiti kendamas. You know what I
mean? So there's like things like that you might not even see or know, and like...
But just know that your money that you're spending, if it's a premium or, you know, with a good brand, it's going back into the community. We're in this together. And that was our point about kendama companies joining in. You got to join in. You better commit.
Yeah, and so Ronin... They're gone today. Was their Instagram around
They're gone for a reason. Yeah, I mean, it's still here.
Instagram's around.
I've been posted since like the end of 2016. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they came in, they leached,
Ow.
And I don't know, maybe it wasn't. I mean, and it was also like nobody knew who the brand owner was. I think they were from like Australia or something, and they were just drop shipping in a U.S. like warehouse.
It was just a situation.
Crazy stuff. So that, I mean, there's some examples of brands that aren't.
I think for us, like the idea of like our kind of idea in terms of giving to the culture has always been give love to the community. Just keep giving love to the community, and hopefully, at least parts of the community will love you back. And like, I think if you adopt that mindset, just like keep giving love, eventually it's gonna come back around. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like karma or whatever. But like, that's gonna feel like it has been our mindset even today. Like you said, giving kendamas out and stuff like that. It's always just like give love, give love, give love.
Yeah.
And I think we do get a little bit back, which is nice. What other struggles do we have?
So struggles around the brand. I mean, there's a lot of things behind the scenes, like understanding the importance of time spent doing things versus the result or end game. How can you do things more efficiently? Things that we've nailed down, like we used to print all our labels. It's just it's the biggest. It's like one of the biggest.
Find you a partner who you can read their mind. That's what you need.
So we used to print all of our labels straight from PayPal out our printer. You had the receipt at the bottom of the paper. It was a full sheet, and we'd cut the label out, the little 4x6 label, and then put it on the bubble mailer or the box, and then tape it down.
Pieces of tape, consistently the same one.
Yeah.
It was a headache, and so finding out little issues like, hey, there's a thermal printer where you can print it out using heat, and then you just slap the label on there.
Save money on paper, ink, and then time. I mean, at the time, the amount of kendamas like we were shipping, obviously it's easy. Like, oh yeah, I can take the time to like tape down each one.
Yeah, but, so you got 3 or 4 or 5 orders or whatever. You could spend time cutting out and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's not a big deal, but it got to be the point where
if you got if you have a big sale and you got 40.
Black Friday comes around.
Black Friday, don't even talk about Black Friday.
Like start cutting the paper out. So we got a label writer. It prints all of our labels off. You peel it, you stick it on. That's like you took this
I think we went,
5-minute ordeal, made it
I
like
think
5 seconds.
December is when we moved over to Shopify from Big Cartel, which is a band T-shirt website. That's where Kusa got their start, right? I mean,
no, I think they started on like WordPress.
I thought it was Big Cartel.
I couldn't tell you.
So we moved over to Shopify, which is a very popular e-commerce app, and then got the thermal printer at the same time. That was in December of 14.
Increased efficiency.
Just to be ready, just in case we happen to do well. And I mean, it was huge. The first time I printed that, I was like,
it was
okay,
great.
let's ship some kendamas. It's like, who needs a kendama? You want it for a jam? You want it for an event? We're ready to send it. You know
and it sounds dumb, like label writer. Come on.
I was so pumped at the time.
Like, why didn't you think of that, right? But
if you don't know, you don't know.
We literally just started the way we just started and you learn from that. And clearly, we didn't put a lot of thought into the label printing. But there's a lot of things like that, little things like that we have picked up in like difficulties starting out. And again, you're always kind of working towards being a brand that people look up to, whether it's, customer support, something goes wrong, it's up to you to solve it, fix it, and
a tone that you want your brand to have. Because there have been times where I'm kind of like, I come off as a bit short over emails. And I mean, we're busy guys, so like the time thing can sometimes be a constraint, but like I'll come off as kind of short, like, send me your order number. What's the issue? Send me a picture. And Chad, he's a lot more like, send me your order.
Well, Shelton's like, let's get it done. And me, I'm like, what can I do to make you feel better about the situation?
And that's why Chad handles the emails.
So sorry. I mean, but we both knock it out. And
I'll pop in sometimes if it's a question.
If it's something that you can answer quickly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where kids will just send emails and it's just like, hey, I didn't get my order. Be like, what's your name? First of all, like, order number, when did you order? It was like 3 days ago. I bought priority shipping. I was like, chances are it's still on the way. Like, USPS handles that.
We have nothing to do with the delivery. Like, that's all the postal service.
Pack everything, prepare everything, and then we hand it over to USPS.
And that's it.
And after that, they get it to the destination. And there's been times where it doesn't arrive. Packages get stolen, and so we do our best to,
big struggle.
Work with customers, because if they order a product, they don't get it. USPS loses it, or it gets stolen.
Step one: go to the post office and say you lost it. File the insurance; they'll find it.
Hopefully, I mean,
if it didn't get dropped off, they'll find it because it's still on the truck, it's still in the air, it's still if they did drop it off.
So we have to deal with a lot of situations like that, and I think over time have gotten
accidentally getting shipped to the wrong location. Like, that was my old house, and it's like an hour away, and it's like, well, it's hard to redirect it. Redirecting mail is more expensive than sending it to the right place the first time. You know that? If you ship something first class, I think it's like $11 to redirect the mail halfway through.
Oh, it'd just be cheaper to ship it again, basically.
I mean, if you have, if you want to send a new kendama or whatever, but. And then international shipping is even more of a headache.
Oh, international
because
shipping.
The way it works is the U.S. Postal Service, you give them whatever you're sending, and then they go to the country, wherever it is, Mexico or Japan or like Singapore or wherever, or Congo, and they hand it over to that country's postal service, which can be a complete gamble. I mean, you just never know. The Canadian Post
Japan
Office,
Post, Canada Post.
Canada Post was on strike a few weeks ago, and we had packages going up there. I'm like, please, please, please do not get hung up anywhere for a long time. Just please. So, and the rates are all different for them, and that doesn't really affect us, but like it's just like something to think about. Like in Canada, I think to ship something basically first class is like $11.
Yeah, it's like 12,
I read about
14, or 16.
I read about a company that was in Canada that wanted to compete internationally, and they lived on the border, and so they'd get in a van, put their packages in there, drive into the United States, and then ship stuff back to Canada from the United States.
Is it cheaper to ship from US? What?
I'm not joking.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then, some interesting.
Give you some perspective on shipping cost. And then China, of course, they've got like their e-packet and something like that. It's true. The government subsidizes, and ours does too. But they make it really cheap to send stuff. So I think China, it's like $1.50 or $2 for first class or something.
Oh man,
or even
really
less.
cheap.
I mean, yeah, it's really and they do a lot of different tiers for like even smaller items. Like if you have earrings, like it might cost like 20 cents to ship it. I don't know.
Yeah, and so within shipping and emailing, things like that, we've kind of
Figured it out.
And of course there's always more to figure out.
There's always someone who's going to surprise you.
Yeah, I don't know, like we don't ship with like DHL or UPS or
Nothing
FedEx,
fancy.
so maybe there's something there that we
Else to figure
discover.
out.
But within that realm, that's stuff that we're kind of like we figured out, it's got behind us, and so now focusing on other things. And another big struggle, something that we're still learning day in, day out, is how to stock products properly.
Which is honestly kind of amateur, but like it's hard to know for sure.
It's not even amateur. I mean, I think every large kendama company has had some form of buying too much product, or having product that doesn't sell the way that they maybe intended when they had first, like manufactured them. And so it's just this constant process, and you've got to be ready for large growth like Latvia, Romania, Hawaii, and
then your wholesale
California,
versus your retail.
And you got to be ready for that, but you also can't
overcommit.
You can't have thousands of kenamas in stock and not, like all of a sudden like something it doesn't hit, and then you're stuck with too much inventory.
I was saying for early on we were having a conversation about inventory stocking and how to manage that and that kind of thing. And if I'm thinking in terms of like the ideal situation, I would describe as like the velocity of products. It's not so much as like making a fat, profit or anything once a month. What you really want is just, even if it's just a tiny bit of money, just moving products in and out. Just constantly refreshing stuff, just as long as it's moving as fast as it can. And so I think that's like the best way to do it if you can, is like, the only thing that you have to consider is how long it takes to make kenamas and have them shipped to you. So I mean, there's a lot of things going on. If you could have it done like that in 2 days, changes the game.
Oh yeah, and if you're manufacturing your own kendamas, like in-house or whatever,
that's completely different.
You can control it a lot better. But then 4.5 years ago, every single kendama was, and I still, we don't have proper terms, but like the standard size kendama, like the old school kendamas, smaller cups, smaller tama, which at the time was just like the standard size, right?
Yeah, right.
That's what we just call it standard.
Now,
4.5 years ago, if you would have asked me that every kendama has cups that are scaled up, I probably would have been like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You told me, like, the big cup is going to be the small cup 3 years from now. Like, I would.
That sounds absurd.
Yeah, it sounds stupid now. Like, so if you were ordering kenamas 5 years ago that you were anticipating selling for the next 5 years, like, there you'd have an outdated product for people who are in the community and understanding of what good products are and things like that. Of course, you can still introduce people to kendama with kenamas. I don't even care how old they are; they're still kenamas. Like the concept's the same. And so for companies and brands that are creating new things and wanting to like innovate, you also just can't double down on an idea now that might not be the same 3 years from now. And
sometimes there's really like unique ways to brand yourself. I mean, anyone who's been around a while knows that Kinko used to just sprinkle candy in like every other package.
Every single order online, you candy with the package.
So that when you order, you're gonna open it up and you got a little candy too, and it's just fun. Yeah, I mean, it's just something that everybody's got their own little flair, and if you got your own.
Everyone always talked about like, why wasn't Sweets Kenamas the one to give free candy? And it's just like, you're like, oh, why? Like some things you can't control like that. But
it just works out that way. We've ran with bags since the very beginning, and that's got its trade-off too. But like, everybody loves bags. I mean, they just love them. I mean, and so like we just had them for a long time, and it's hard to see us changing without something dramatic happening. I can't see Target stocking a bunch of bags, but
yeah. Target's like all of a sudden just like, hey, we need boxes,
It's like, hello, how you doing? Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot, and I think like there's some fun ideas you can play around with. Like here, I'll give you a couple. I know Sweets did the plant a tree thing for limited time.
They still do that.
Oh, so they still
I asked Sweets. I was like, hey, do you guys still donate? I think it's $1 to the Arbor Day Foundation, and each dollar like plants a tree. And so with every homegrown that's bought, a tree gets planted.
Shout out Sweets Kendama. So
and I was like, Sweets. I'm like, you guys gotta you guys gotta
brand that more.
like
Just
promote
mention
that
it.
more. I haven't heard anything since they gave a little button that had a little cookie on it. It said you get a cookie for planting a tree, or like you planted a
It's
tree.
a cute cookie.
And so I was like, yeah, they still do that.
And so maybe
Great
you wanna
concept.
drop in instead of candy like a packet of like seeds or something. Save the bees, or maybe your packaging is recyclable, or maybe it's like biodegradable, or like a million different things. I mean, there's lots of opportunities for anyone who has any interesting ideas or anything like that. And I think like there's something to be said about an artist who can create something. Like brag on Alex Morton again. He puts art on his yo-yos and stuff like that, and like it's
Dude,
just
Luzumaki. Luther, he such a good artist. I think he's a full-time artist. He paints kendamas. He has phone cases, shirts.
Res for a long time. I mean, I would consider that art.
Yeah, that is art. And so there's a lot of people who are doing like really creative, cool things with kendama. He's not a kendama company owner. He's not a kendama brand owner, but he
Found his way to fit in there.
His niche in the community is painting custom tamas for people,
very good.
and collaborations with sweets. Like even the Camp Kendama had the Luzumaki design.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Cool things like that, and he's done collaborations, shirts, things like that. So
yeah,
there's cool creative ways
Plenty of
to get
opportunities.
involved and to stick out, to be unique, and I think Luzumaki, he was very thoughtful, and it still is to this day. Everything
That's
that he
another
does
thing is you
kinda
just
like,
keep staying thoughtful, staying
Yeah.
clever, staying close to the ground, keep your finger on the pulse, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fun talking about struggles. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's 100 other things we could talk about.
Yeah,
We'll
there
finish the
probably
episode
are.
and we'll go, hey, we should have talked about this, you know. But appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to this. You can find us on Instagram at Chad Covington, at Shelton III, and at Soul Kendamas. Yeah.
If you enjoyed the episode, let us know in the comments. Topics, keep throwing them at us. Let us know. Unique stuff. Shelton's going for the smash that thumbs up button.
Without saying it, 'cause that's just too much.
I'm the one that'll say it. Smash that thumbs button. Hit the subscribe.
The thumbs up. Specify the thumbs
The
up.
thumbs up. Did I say the
You
thumbs
said the
button?
thumbs button.
Hit the thumbs up button. Yeah, leave those topic ideas if you have them.
Or just if you just want to chat, ask me a question, ask
Yeah.
him a question about the struggles. I think soon we're going to do like an Instagram Q&A. We're going to try to harvest as much topics
Yeah.
as we can and questions and everything.
We'll
and
draw from Instagram, and then we're gonna film the episode like this with our questions.
Yeah, and we're already planning super far ahead. I just pitched an idea to Chad
Thinking.
the other day for the International Coffee Day episode we're going to do, and that's in September. And we've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I mean, you guys stick around. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Have a good Sunday. Cups.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Dink it.
Coffee house or chocolate holler? I'll go with coffee house.